Alright, it's a Sealander back on the trail in November. It's about November 10th, and we are going to go ahead and hike up to Fontana Dam. We're actually going to do a Sobo. We're parked here at the Untitled Outdoor Center. We're going to eat at the Rivers Inn restaurant and get a shuttle ride over to Fontana Dam and then hike back to our cars. It's only about 29 miles. It's a toasty 45 degrees right now, and it'll be in the low 30s tonight. So we're going to go gear it up and meet our shuttle driver. Just outside the NOC, there's the outfitter store, and it's just the Appalachian Trail. Right there is the White Blaze, and we just stopped and had a really good lunch looking over the river here at Rivers Inn restaurant. The bar and grill across the bridge is closed this time of year, but it has some really good food as well. We're going to begin our hike here at Fontana Dam, and we're going to go, it's only about 29 miles for a few day hike to the NOC. So we're going to do a southbound on this trek. Beautiful day, probably low 50s right now, and nice, beautiful. I'll pan around it and kind of see what you see in here. Very nice. They've let the lake, Fontana Lake, down for the winter. So that's why, wow, that looks interesting. You can see the various water levels, kind of a stair stepping down from the original height. That looks really cool. So you could walk to the island. Alright, here we go. Starting our trek. I wanted to get the GoPro out to get things going. See, they just paved this approach slab here at the dam. And the Appalachian Trail goes right on the dam, and you head over the top of the dam and you walk around the rim of that pond, and the Smokies are right up there. In fact, I can see the tower. I can see the tower up on the first tower you go to. Interesting. So let's rock and roll. We'll go to Fontana Hilton now. We're just about at the Fontana Hilton. Just had this little vista in a parking lot. You can bring your car right to this parking lot here and walk down to the Fontana Hilton if you're here to see the dam and not actually do a hike. Here it is, Fontana Hilton. I've been up here. It's my third time to this one, but we're not staying here. Right now it's about 1 in the afternoon, so we're heading out. But you have supposedly the nicest shelter. Ooh, nice. They got a door blocking it. I've never seen that before. So you got a double loft. Usually that door is open in the summer. It's nice and clean in here. And used to have a charging station, but I think it's broke. That power up, I do not think it works. I do not think. But you got a view. There's water right there. So supposedly the nicest shelter on the AT, Fontana Hilton. We're about 3 miles south of Fontana Dam, and for the first 2 miles it's pretty easy, a lot of flat and downhill going down to the shelter, and then you start your 5.5, it says 5.5, I don't think it's that much, 5.2 or 3 mile ascent to the next shelter, which I forgot what it was. Oh, gotta climb over this. So, moving onward. We've only been hiking for not an hour and a half yet. I don't know if you can see over there, but there's Fontana Dam. And we're about 3.4 miles up the hill. And it's real rocky at this point. and it's a solid uphill too. We have a rocky section here, about 3.5 miles in. Another set of stairs walking up to there. All right. We're about 2.5 miles from Cable Gap Shelter. A few things I'd like to mention is that coming up out of the marina, there's a water source listed on the Gut Hook app that has a seasonal water. And there was water there, but it was had to scoop it. And then there's a series of 3 passes right after that, actually a mile after that, where you run into a stream that meanders. So what you want to do is get the first stream that has the best flowing water, has a little bit of a waterfall, and you get your Sawyer squeeze under there and fill it up. So that's what you want to do. Right now we're on top of this mountain. Have a good view. The sun is still up another 1.5 hours. You can't see it, but down that way is the Fontana Dam and Smokies. And I'm not sure. There's a downhill, then uphill, then a downhill remaining in the last 2.5 miles to get to Cable Gap Shelter. So that's what we're doing. Let's show you a little bit of what's in front of me. I'm going down. Alright, we're about 1 mile out from Cable Gap Shelter, maybe a little less. And going down this incline here, and what's difficult during this time of year is all of the leaves are covering the roots. And then it rained last night, so they look dry on the top, but they're wet on the bottom, which makes for some slippery root surfaces with the leaves draped on them. So I have to be careful, but we're trying to get there before it gets dark. That'll put us at 7 miles today. Whoop. And we started at 1 in the afternoon. And right now it's 10 after 5. So I'm hoping to get there by 5:30, which will be about the time it gets dark. So we'll see how it goes. Alright, this is day 2. We just left Cable Gap Shelter. By the way, it has a really sorry water supply. You have to dip it with a cup. Kind of cloudy. Basically a puddle of water in the leaves. Now we're doing the climb up to the next shelter, heading southbound. Last night wasn't too bad. Got in the low 30s. But down sleeping bag did a good job keeping us warm. I'm out of breath of climbing steady. We're straight up this hill. And I think we're going to try to go to that Locust Gap campground tonight, which is just a flat spot in the woods. So there's a water supply that was 1.2 miles southbound from Cable Gap Shelter, and that's where we're heading next. Just came out Yellow Creek Gap. Trying to figure out where to go. I think I go behind me. But there is a paved road, Yellow Creek Gap. Looks like there might be something up there. Yeah. Let's head down. I'm just coming up on top of this ridge, and the wind's picked up, blowing about 10 to 15 miles per hour. That's kind of cool. I just seen the first view of the mountains. I'm still probably only 2.5 miles from Cable Gap Shelter. Keeping on climbing. A little bit of climb out of the shelter, and then mild climbs in flat areas. So it's not too bad. start doing a little bit more of these shots where I talk and you can see what I see as I'm walking down the trail. Because over here I look and I'm just right on top of a knife edge of a ridge, and drops down there beside me, and then drops down beside on this side as well. And you can see the mountains over yonder. One of those mountains, I can't quite tell, is Klingman's Dome, but it's maybe obscure, but it's in the second row. Definitely the second row. It might be that one way in the middle of the screen. Alright, we came up on Cody Gap here. There is a spot for, there's some flat areas for several tents, and there is a blue blaze for water down there. We're still, I don't know, 4 miles from the next shelter. So we're keeping on heading on. It's about 40 degrees, bright and sunny, partly cloudy. But so far I haven't seen the sun obscured by the clouds too much. Just taking a break here. Large climb right here, just a short one. Enough to put me out of breath. So I come up on top, and what's interesting to recognize is because it's fall, or almost it's winter actually, pretty much. About November 11th or so. There's no leaves on the trees, so you can really see the mountain scape beyond the trees, through the trees, if you will. Alright, on top of this mountain here, and it's got a vista. That's Fontana Lake in the distant view. Nice day today, a little hazy, but the sun's peeking through quite nicely. Coming through on this side. See the mountains through the trees as well. We're on the cliff top. We're probably about a mile from the next shelter, which I forgot what it was. But we're about 5 miles south of Cable Gap shelter, so it's the next shelter in line. So here we go again on top of this mountain here. I think we're going to go downhill a little bit to get to that shelter, so hike on. Be careful on this log, this tricky. Just take baby steps at a time. There you go. No problem. Well, Hot Flash has hundreds of miles behind her, so she has some practice. Alrighty, off to the shelter. We got some nice climbing. I'll try to film and go up this thing. At least the ground's dry today. All right, a little more. Oh, I'm about to put down the camera. Have to put it down. Let's see if I can get it up. We got more up there to go. Filming. Alright. Going up this one here. It makes it fun. I have to film with my cell phone because GoPros are horrible for low light. They don't want to focus for too long. If they get their act together, I might switch to do a video with a cell phone, because I'm certainly not happy with what they're doing now in the GoPros. But I have the 5th edition of the GoPro 5. Does not have video stabilization, so I'm actually having to use my Note 5 here and utilizing it in stabilization mode off, because it does such a poor job. So then I stabilize it in the software when I video edit. Alright, starting to flatten out some. That's enough to show you a little bit there. Now, this is a cool little outcropping, so I thought I'd take a little picture of it. Less than a mile from Brown Gap Shelter. Stopped there for lunch. This is Brown Fork Shelter. It's like 3,760 feet elevation. There's a privy here. I'm not sure if there's a spring here or not. I don't see any signs for it. Let's walk around the back here. There was a spring just north of here, but it was down a killer hill on the trail. So, I don't think there's any water here. No signs for it, at least. It's coming out of Brown Fork Gap Shelter, and there is a water that is 0.2 north of the shelter, but I'm traveling southbound. I had to climb a big steep hill to get to it, and there is water at the shelter. It's flowing good, about 4 liters a minute through a PVC pipe. We're looking at the shelter. Look to your left, you see the privy. Look to the right, you see the blue blaze down a steep hill, and go down there and get your water. You have to go down the hill to find some tent spots. It didn't look like there was much up there close to the shelter. No picnic table. I didn't see any bear cables. And it's 0.1 off the trail, so not bad. Now we're heading to Locust Gap Camp. It's not a shelter, but the next shelter is 9 miles away. So we don't feel like hiking 9 miles, about 1 o'clock. And it gets dark at 5:30. So we're gonna do another 5.5 and camp there. It has water there, so they say. So we're heading towards Jacob's Ladder in reverse. So we'll have to see how that goes. You're just about to the top of Jacob's Ladder. We just now grabbed to the point right after working our way downhill from the summit right before Jacob's Ladder. So doesn't say anything about Jacob's Ladder in the GutHut app, but it is mentioned in the AWOL guide. So we'll see what it's all about. This is partly we just started into Jacob's Ladder. It's a series of switchbacks and steep, and now it has leaves on it, which makes it really slippery coming down. So, and it's pretty steep. We're still coming down Jacob's Ladder. I'm not sure how long what they consider, but this whole downhill section is quite steep, so I'm sure they're calling all of it Jacob's Ladder. And the good thing, we're going down it, but it's pretty slippery. Okay. We're coming down out of the mountain from Jacob's Ladder down to Stokoa Gap. We'll stop here a few minutes before we head on up to Locust Gap for the night.
3165. Climbing a steep hill out of Stokoa Gap. That's where we came from, that mountain up there. And we still got some steep climb here today to do yet. I'm here at Locust Gap, and I just made us we just 11 miles today for the girls. They haven't been out in a while. So nice flat areas. Plenty of people could camp here. AT goes off that way. I just came from that way. They say there's water here, but I'm not sure. I'm not seeing a blue blaze. Oh, maybe there is. There's a fire pit here covered up with leaves. Yeah, there's a blue blaze, so I'm not sure how far the water is. Alright, we left out of Locust Gap shelter this morning, and it rained last night and it was raining this morning. So it's still sprinkling right now. So I'm already hot in this rain gear. I always buy a rain gear that has pit zips. Good tip. And it works a lot better. So anyways, we're climbing up Cholla, I don't know if it's a ball, but Cholla Mountain. And it's a 5,000, just over 5,000 foot peak. And we're gonna try to hit the NOC today. Which we should. It's just over 10 miles. So we should be able to do it. But I tell you what, I hate wearing rain gear, but if you think you're gonna go out there and not wear it on your pants at least, it can be miserable if you have wet drawers and underwear, if you will, pants and socks. It's not a good thing. Now I do wear Solomon XA Pro Comp 3Ds or whatever. They're non-Gore-Tex. They're breathable, so they can dry out fast when the rain stops. I don't like Gore-Tex shoes at all, except maybe in the snow. If I was going in Colorado and spending my days in snow, with solid snow, and I'd use them. But out here, unless you're trekking in the snow, you don't need them. So we're on our way to the next shelter, which should be 3.6 miles from Locust Gap, heading southbound, and that's the plan. I made it up to Cholla Bald, I believe is the name, 5,052 feet. Been raining all day. Now we're just stuck in the clouds. Usually you'd see 40-50 miles out there, but you have a fire pit here, places to camp, and all that. We're 7.7 miles from the NOC. 1.1 mile south of here is the Sassafras Gap shelter. We'll stop there for lunch. All right, this is Sassafras Gap shelter. There's two lofts there, skylight up there, mouse hangers and some tables. So it's about 0.1 off the trail. It's just wet and miserable today. There's a privy over yonder. Get an idea what it looks like. There's supposed to be water, but I don't see the blue. Oh, right there's the blue blaze. So maybe the water's right down there. Let's take a look real quick. Yeah, I can see a pipe. I don't know if you can see it. Let me zoom in. Yep, there's a pipe. So I'll get some water. Well, we're coming down off the mountain to NOC. We left Sassafras Gap shelter. Had a phone signal. I sure do have to say a lot about Verizon having signal up here on the top of these mountains. I just made an important call to my daughter regarding a minor emergency for something at home, and that's nice to be able to do that. So I'm using Verizon, and it's been working for me for a couple of years now that I've been out here on the trail. So anyways, it's all downhill. Leaving the bald, it was about 5,050 feet all the way down to the NOC, which I believe is about 1,800 feet, but it's a pretty good downhill. So I'm on that downhill, so I'm making some good time now. And pretty much it's misty and trees are dripping rain constantly on you and you're rubbing your arms, so I'm pretty much in rain gear just for the sake. It's 45 degrees and that's below my tolerance for cold and wet without rain gear. So anyways, making treks down to the NOC. I'm stopping here, real slippery rock pass. A lot of moss everywhere and rain and leaves and slimy rocks. So it's pretty treacherous in this section. Coming down off of Cholla Bald. And that's our path. Switchback and the water stop approximately 4 miles from NOC southbound. Actually 2 of them. There's one 100 feet up the north of here, and this is the one south. Crosses right past the trail. And there's the trail. This is really, really slippery, rocky section. Really slippery. And there's loose rock sections, which are the worst. You fall here, you're gonna hurt yourself a little bit, chances are. I've been coming down from Cholla Bald and it's been a knife edge, and now we're getting back into some switchbacks. Whoop. To a mossy rock covered side of a hill. The roots are hidden right underneath view, which makes it even funner. Looking down there, you can't see nothing but fog. And about 3 miles to the NOC. It's about halfway down the mountain from Cholla Bald, I think you pronounce it. I've been saying it wrong probably the whole thing, but so you can see what I'm seeing. It's a little bit brighter now, so I brought the GoPro out, and hopefully a Session 5 GoPro can focus. I've fallen a couple times where I just lost a footing and I just sit down. One thing to tell you on this stuff is when you fall, best thing to do is try to sit down on your backside. And if you're walking on a trail where it's going around a curve and it's on a drop off, and you'll have like a trail that half of it has roots and everything angling down to the drop off, and the other have about 6 to 8 inches of flat right on the edge. Walk on the 6 to 8 inches of flat on the edge. We just had a fall where stepping on those roots that are already angled away from the trail, fall down, hit your side on the embankment and all that. So just a tip. And a lot of loose rocks on this trek, so it's just making it much harder to get any time. But it's about noon now, and we've got about 7 miles in now. Well, that might be 1. Noon or 1, we got about 7 miles in, which is pretty good climbing up and down. So probably closer to 1. And we started at 8:15. So for us older folks, that's good. And also taking our time coming down makes you really go slow coming down on these rock faces that are just covered with leaves and slippery. I know I've fallen before, and I know what can happen you fall and hurt yourself really bad, it's hard to get help. So I take my time. I'm in no marathon. I'm just gonna do, all we got to do is 10.2 miles, and we'll probably have that done 3 to 4 at the most. When it keeps going like this, we'll get our times up. But anyways, this is what we're seeing, going up and down these steep rocks, and going up to these 4,000 and 5,000 foot summits up and down, which isn't bad for them. And slowing way down to the mile an hour when you're coming down this hill where you can't even move without thinking of falling. So stop, look for the girl. Oh, they're right behind me. Drop off on both sides again. We're on a knife edge. Okay, good time. About a half mile out from NOC, maybe 0.6. Come alongside the river here. I'll put the name of it on the screen. But you know what time it is. NOC was about 10.2 miles, I guess, from Locust Gap, and we're just about there. We're probably gonna hold up and camp, and I hear that there was a place about a half mile from the NOC that you can camp, and then we'll set our tents up and possibly go in to NOC to the river. What do they call it? Along the river, a riverside restaurant. Have us some chili. They got some good food there. Oh wow, look at this right here, all this rock faces. It's pretty cool. Be pretty cool to sleep tonight with the river noise in the background. Got a pretty good amount of water flowing down there right now. Let's continue moving on through here. Little cave entrances up there. Look at that tree growing right out of the rocks. Interesting. Oh, we're actually about 0.2. There's that right. I thought it was about half mile, but now we're less than a half mile, 0.2 miles from the NOC. This interesting rock face. Pretty cool. Now we're coming up the backside of the NOC right now. Yep, coming down the trail here. Feet are aching. Plantar fasciitis. Hate it. All the rafting buses are stopped. Let's see back. Oh, there's the sign. It says Appalachian Trail, Fontana Dam, 27.6 miles. It's a little off there, guys. Fontana Dam is about 29 miles. Coming into the NOC from the Fontana Dam. Gut Hook says it's 28.9 miles. So we're kind of working our way. This is just a parking lot where you park for rafting. And behind me, you got the general store yonder. There's the Outfitters. And right here is a riverside restaurant. Finish up our final hitch. Final Hitch. River's End Restaurant, that's what it's called. General store is closed this time of year. Kind of cool to see the little slaloms for the raft. And that's it. This concludes our Fontana Dam to NOC trip. So all in all, good day. Took us 2 days and a half, 2.5 days to get here. And rained the last day. So it's been a good trip. Well done. Good job. Top class. So who knows where we'll go next. But we're going to sign off for now, and we'll see you next video.
Well, it's morning time here at the NOC. We stayed at the bunkhouse, and you want to see what they look like here. Place for your backpack. Let my tent dry out from yesterday. It has bunk beds, and actually has heat and power in here. There's no Wi-Fi, and it's $22.14 a night. Then you get access to a bathroom, a nice bathroom, shower, and a large open like day room that has about 6 picnic tables inside with a huge kitchen area. So for $22.14, you can't beat it. Can't beat it. It's just a wood building. It has a loft out front. Let's see what it looks like. It's still dark outside. Come around here. There's the bathhouse and everything at night. So I'll take a picture of it when the sun comes up here shortly. But just to kind of show you what it looks like. Right there's the bunk houses I was staying at. One on the left. Up here is down here. Here's where the bathrooms are on the bottom side here, and there's guys and gals. You have to get a room key, and guys only opens up the guys, and girls only the girls. That inside there is the people come for breakfast. It's like a day room area. You can see I don't want to be in there looking at. There's a kitchen area in the back, and it's just as wide and has stove and coffee maker, microwave. But it's a pretty good deal. Get all that with your $22.14 price for the whole night. Get back up to my room. There's hot flash coming in.